Good evening. Welcome to the Pearl Report. I'm Diana Lin. Hong Kong's average per capita living space is 161 square feet, the smallest area in the world. That's largely due to astronomical property prices, a result of warped government policies and developers' greed. Tonight, producer Joyce Liu examines the plight of thousands of people caged in subdivided hutches, facing potential hazards posed by fire, utilities leakage, illegal renovations, and bad hygiene. Hong Kong. Its affluent facade masking pockets of inhuman living conditions. Among them, under 100 square foot subdivided flats housing some 200,000 people. An exhibit of subdivided flats.
呢幅相住邊屋幾多一個人啊？4個人啦，咁小朋友2個。呢間房幾大到啊？咩300尺？邊個話300尺？係啊，300尺、50尺 ，OK， 大概係50零尺到嘅。因為一張碌架床咧，可能就大概係20零30尺到啦。咁你見係得條咁嘅走廊仔，咁就冇啦。
A subdivided unit is formed by landlords removing non-structural walls of a flat and repartitioning it, usually into 3 to 6 ensuite rooms, and letting them out individually for about $4,000 monthly.
How can such a developed city have such uncivilized, outdated places?
Some people live in seriously horrendous places. I feel sad for them.
Mrs. Lee, a single mum, and her 20-year-old son have lived in one of 5 units in this subdivided flat in Sham Shui Po for nearly 3 years. They paid $3,000 monthly for the 80 square foot space.
When I first moved in, it was okay. Later, I found water dripping from the ceiling, so I pasted newspaper on the ceiling. The building is too old, the plaster is cracked. If you didn't paste paper over it, it'd drop everywhere. I had to sweep the floor after work.
The cooking area is right next to the toilet.
It's okay to wash or chop up vegetables here, but I didn't dare cook here. I cooked in the living room. Stir-frying food or boiling soup, the falling plaster whitened the food. Always ate extra ingredients. The oil fumes stained my clothes.
Rats, cockroaches and ants invade through the window and cracked ceiling.
The rats were huge. I often bought biscuits and noodles. They ate them before I could. Once I was showering over there, a large rat dropped into the toilet. Luckily, it didn't bite me.
There is an air conditioner.
Like a power generator, louder than the container trucks downstairs.
This July, the landlord gave Mrs. Lee 1 month's notice to move out.
He stopped renting for fear the ceiling would collapse.
Her former subdivided flat was not structurally safe. Actually, many tenants face similar problems.
You have to reconsider after subdivision whether it still meets the the means of escape, ventilation or hygiene, and etc. Then you have to fulfill quite a lot of requirements.
The Buildings Department requires property owners to hire an authorized person and a structural engineer to submit plans for renovations affecting the structure of a building.
The Building Department will inspect every submission before they grant you the approval or consent for the completion of work.
Works not affecting a building structure come under the Minor Works Control System. A subdivided unit usually comes with its own toilet. To build it, a flat owner has to appoint a contractor and an authorized person, and sometimes a structural engineer, to prepare plans to submit to the Buildings Department at least 7 days before the work commences.
Because the manual risk control system is a simplified process. So for the building department, we will not carry out the 100% checking. It's a random check.
We contacted a contractor.
真係抽中你個機率有幾大啊？
我哋睇就唔係十分之多嘅。
We had 2 real estate agents show us some subdivided flats. This 100 square foot unit rents for $5,500 monthly.
佢呢度係一開幾嘅呢度係本身。
點解？
萬一佢嗰啲咩火燭嗰啲點算啊？
點樣火燭啊？冇明火㗎，冇㗎，間間都冇嘅，係都係用電磁爐啊。呢度冇喎，一路都冇事喎。
This 80 square foot subdivided unit rents for $4,200.
有出嚟呢個就對天井嘅，
呢隻直接開唔到，咁樣開少少通下風。
The 5 units here flank a corridor.
呢啲屋宇署啊 check 嗰啲呢度有冇？
哦，我話俾你聽啦，屋宇署 check 咧就一定唔合規格嘅呢度，10間都唔合規格嘅，唔使諗，一定冇。佢 check 你咩咧 ？check 你承重啦，咁另外走廊嘅闊度啦，你要啱 size 啦。但係正常個個都唔會啱，因為佢要嗰個闊度，要消防條例闊度係好闊㗎，冇一間套房會咁做㗎，即係嘥咗自己地方嘅啫。一開2都得，但係一開幾就通常都唔得㗎啦。住邊度都有佢嘅危險嘅。
Buildings Department's inspection rate is very low. They don't have the manpower to check subdivided flats for violating regulations.
On subdivided flats, the Buildings Department states,
It's the government's policy not to eradicate all subdivided flats in domestic and composite buildings, but to ensure their safety. To this end, Buildings Department has, since April 2011, large-scale operations to rectify irregularities of building works associated with them.
Official data show Hong Kong has 87,600 households living in subdivided flats. By this September, the department has inspected 1,266 buildings and issued 2,105 statutory orders. 1,172 orders have been discharged and 517 prosecutions instigated.
1 or 2 years ago, Buildings Department staff went on strike, saying they know they need to do inspections but can't do it right away. This reflects the government has regulations for monitoring, but they have no teeth. So flat owners continue to subdivide apartments until they get caught. They can still make money for a few years, a lot of money.
If they subdivide it into a smaller one, then he or she can rent it out to more households or more families. Then the homeowner can get a higher aggregate rental income. It is a huge profit.
This apartment is about 300 square feet. It can be rented out for $10,000, but subdivided into 3 units at $4,500 rental each, the income is $13,500.
Some of them may view it as a kind of investment. They may buy the flat and then pay the first installment. After the subdivision work, they can rent it out and then collect the rental income to repay the mortgage.
Mrs. Lee and her son moved into another subdivided flat in Sam Shui Po, costing $4,000 a month. She makes $10,000 working part-time in airline catering.
I don't have any spare money. The sudden move makes my life even worse.
A friend lent her money to pay the 2-month deposit and first month rent.
Seeing me cry, my friend said, if you don't have the money, I can lend it to you. I said it'll take me a long time to pay you back. She said, no problem. Ask your son to work part-time to help out. Pay me back slowly.
Studies show for subdivided flat tenants, the rent-to-income ratio jumped from under 30% in 2013 to over 40% in 2015. In these 3 years, the average rent increased $200, but the average household income decreased nearly $2,000.
The international standard is about 30% of the household income. You exceed 30%, it implies some affordability problems.
Coming up after the break. Unhealthy living in subdivided flats.
Residents say they are like a vacuum cleaner.
But what happens when the government wants to evict you?
I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll end up sleeping under a footbridge.
Stay with us.
我嘅肌膚從來無懼惡劣環境，原因嚟自我20幾歲嘅一個決定。從現在直到將來，肌膚依然晶瑩剔透。SK2。
Welcome back.
我嘅肌膚從來無懼惡劣環境，原因嚟自我20幾歲嘅一個決定。從現在直到將來，肌膚依然晶瑩剔透。SK2。
To the Per report, the United Nations adequate housing requirements include living in safety, peace, and dignity. Well, it comes as no surprise that many of Hong Kong's subdivided flats have been found to be hazardous to your health and well-being. But the government has no common standard for adequate housing, and critics say at the people's expense. Three years ago, Alan came to Hong Kong from Dongguan to be with her Hong Kong-born daughter, who's studying here. Lan eked out a living working part-time as a security guard, earning $8,000 a month. Initially, they lived in a squatter hut in Kwai Chung, paying $2,800 a month.
The tin sheets trembled loudly on windy days. The roof leaked when it rained, and oil fumes and cooking odor from restaurants downstairs permeated our home. After a few months, my daughter's trachea became more sensitive.
So they moved to this 70-square-foot subdivided unit, paying $3,800 per month.
The toilets of the 3 adjoining subdivided units are right behind our wall, in addition to my toilet. So our room is very damp, worse than the others.
Lan says the humidity has exacerbated her frozen shoulder syndrome.
This can't stretch further. Big movements are painful. I feel painful and stiff all day.
The dampness makes the room moldy.
Every day when I return home, the room smells nauseously of bacteria. And the walls are moldy with bacteria. I have to wipe them every 3 to 5 days.
The flat has only one small window.
With bad circulation, dust accumulates in a few days.
Lan says her daughter's asthma is worsening.
She can't sleep at night from coughing and taking meds all day.
Lan says she can't stop coughing either living in this flat.
Actually, my health is going downhill. It never improves. But I can't find affordable housing, so we've to continue staying here.
Volunteers from a community centre come to test her flat's air quality.
This meter tests wind speed. It's testing now. See, the wind speed in Lan's flat is 0. If the wind speed is too low, dust inside the room, the toilet, or from outside might be hard to disperse. This meter tests particulate matter PM 2.5.
PM 2.5 stands for a mix of solid particles and liquid droplets smaller than 2.5 micrometers. If inhaled into the body, they can cause lung and heart diseases. Environmental Protection Department standards set the density of PM 2.5 at under 35 micrograms per cubic meter.
Each 10 micrograms over the standard will increase the mortality rate of the high-risk population by 2 to 11%. See, the reading here is 50, exceeding by 10 to 15.
NGOs have tested the ambience of 134 subdivided units in Kaising. The average density of PM 2.5 is around 56 micrograms per cubic meter.
The highest density of PM 2.5 we've tested in a flat is 125, very excessive.
They also found 90% of the subdivided flats have zero wind speed.
Residents say they are like a vacuum cleaner. Many tenants, especially their kids, easily contract respiratory diseases.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights enshrine people's right to adequate housing, a safe home to live with dignity. Adequate housing includes habitability, meaning protection from cold, damp, heat, rain, wind, or other threats to health, structural hazards, and disease vectors. Beijing extends the covenant's provisions to Hong Kong, but adequate housing is not in local laws.
The government has obviously been incapable of dealing with subdivided flats tenants. So, if it sets adequate housing standards, it will put more pressure on the government. That's why it's not willing to do so.
Hong Kong's cramped living is often blamed on high property prices.
Actually, Hong Kong has lots of undeveloped land such as brownfields and vacant urban plots. But the government upholds a policy of high property prices to boost revenue through real estate transactions, so the property market would shore up Hong Kong's economy. So it doesn't want to increase land supply to drag down property prices.
Some note, however, the current administration has been trying to find more land for housing.
The unit below used this pillar to lift goods up to this industrial building's rooftop.
Mr. Liu's flat is on the rooftop.
All the wood panels in the ceiling, plus a waterproof layer, that's iron. Flat is supported by these industrial angle iron. Here, here, and over there are industrial angle iron.
30 households live on the rooftop.
Even with strong winds and heavy rain, the flats being linked are very stable. If they're freestanding, it'd be dangerous.
Septuagenarian Mr. Liu has been living in this house for 7 years.
The iron ceiling and wall become extremely hot in the sun, like an oven. When I can't bear the heat, I go sit in a park or somewhere cooler.
Liu gets social welfare payments and works odd jobs, with a total monthly income of $7,000. His rent is around $2,000.
Most important is to have a roof over your head. I've never thought of any safety issues. If I burn incense or smoke, it'd be fine if I take more care, right? Many families have lived here for more than a decade. As long as we all take care of and help each other out, nothing would happen.
Earlier this year, the government issued an eviction order.
This is the date, before next January. We have to move out by the end of December.
The Buildings Department says
subdivided flats within industrial buildings are absolutely not suitable for domestic use, as the inhabitants are exposed to high fire risks posed by other units within the same building, which are still being used or could be put back to industrial activities or storage of dangerous and inflammable goods.
The buildings department says it's dangerous here and wants us to leave, but we don't think it's dangerous. How many typhoons in 20 years? Have they collapsed? I might die before these flats collapse.
No one wants to live in an industrial building. They have no choice but to live there. Government should consider carefully how to resettle them. If you drive them out, where would they live?
The Buildings Department says it's working
to strengthen technical support and financial assistance to needy building owners, among others for compliance with removal orders to rectify building irregularities associated with subdivided flats.
Government hasn't promised us anything or helped us with anything.
Liu is searching for other private housing.
I can't afford to rent them.
Liu says he's trying to supplement his income by driving minibuses, but is hampered by chronic ailments.
If I sit too long, I suffer sciatic pains. I have many geriatric diseases, such as gout, rheumatism, sciatica, and heart disease. I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll end up sleeping under a footbridge.
I suggest building transitional housing for needy people to take turns to stay. We see 2 vacant schools in Kwun Tong. When schools have been vacant for 5 years, can't they be turned into transitional housing?
University lecturer Vera Yoon lives in a subdivided unit.
I believe that people have different choices in living in different settings. We would rather save up the money for other uses. It's a way to balance between spending on housing and to save up other money for future use or, for consumption.
On why people live in subdivided flats, Census and Statistics Department data show 61.6% due to more affordable rent, 36.3% found it convenient to go to work or school. Only 22.6% have financial difficulties.
Actually, the most expensive subdivided unit I ever heard of, it's $18,000 per month. And then there's one on Hong Kong Island that is $14,000 per month. And these units, they are like for executive and people who work in Central, actually. Part of the demand for subdivided unit is from those working class, and they would like to have a more convenient location. It's a way to save more time for social life, for rest, or even to work more.
Apart from buying private property and renting normal apartments, is there any choice left for Hong Kong people?
Only 2 choices for accommodation: subdivided flats and public housing. Should Hong Kong's housing structure be that simple? How can government officials think that's okay?
Well, thank you for watching our show. It will be re-aired on Monday, Tuesday and Saturday, as well as on tvb.com. Until next time, from the Pearl Report team, good night, good luck and good health.